So I've been in this room for probably the last 20 hours or so, and I've gained a great appreciation for this clock, and wanted to highlight some things that often go unnoticed on a clock like this, because you see it and it's like, well, it's just like a basic plain old clock, who cares? But there's actually a lot of thought that's been put into it. I wanted to highlight some of those things and just show you what I appreciate about it. So the aesthetics and the function, both, I think are really neat. So as far as the aesthetics go, I think it's just really well designed. It looks a lot like an old electric clock with a bezel, and the glass is kind of curved, and the hands look very characteristic of an old electric clock, and the numbers kind of have that vintage look to them, but not over the top, but kind of living in the present, but appreciating the past and honoring those things that have gone before us. And then it's also easy to read. So I think from an aesthetic perspective, it's just simple. It leaves room for a function, but it still gives attention to some of those design details. Now, as far as the function goes, I think it's just a lot of really neat things, because we're actually in a hospital room because we just had our baby yesterday, and we're in the recovery room. And this clock is stationed right above the nurse's station. Now, when you're in a hospital, time is really important, and they put it in a place where the patient can see. There he is, he's saying hi. Where the patient can see it, and that's why I've been staring at it for 20 hours, and where the nurses can see it, because there's a lot of things in this process where time really matters a lot. Like, when did you last take medication, or when was the baby born, or when did you last change a diaper or feed, and all those things. And so they've got this clock really well positioned so that you can use it well and see what it's saying. And then it's also synchronized. So this is made by Simplex, and they make synchronized clocks. So this clock actually isn't a battery-powered clock. It's actually wired into the wall. It's hardwired. I may have looked behind it to see that. But they make synchronized clocks, which means somewhere in this hospital is a master clock that runs all of these and tells them what time they should be saying. So every room in the hospital is on the same time. When daylight savings happens, they're all synchronized together, and you don't have any ambiguity as to what time it is. Also, this clock, being just kind of a basic analog style, doesn't have a backlight, which I think is great when you're in a hospital room recovering from childbirth, because if you've ever been in a hotel room and you try to sleep and then you see that really bright LED display, that can be really difficult. And there's so many lights and gizmos and gadgets in this room. It's really nice to have something that's not lit, not shining in the middle of the night. And then the hands they're sharp. You can see exactly what time it's pointing to. It has a second hand, and which I think is really neat, because it again emphasizes the accuracy that's so important in a hospital and the precision. And if you're checking heart rate or something, let's say a nurse needs to check your heart rate all of a sudden and doesn't have a watch or a phone or something like that, you've got a clock with a second hand, so you can quickly and easily do that. And I think it's just really practical and helpful to have in every room. Just from a functionality perspective, I think that's really, really well thought through. And then finally, it's got a continuous sweep second hand, which I think is great. And I pointed that out to my wife, and she's like, wow, I hadn't thought about that, but it's so true. Imagine you just spent the last 3 days trying to birth a child, and you're exhausted, and you finally get to rest. The baby's come, he's finally calmed down and going to sleep, and now you lay down and you close your eyes and you hear tick, 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 tick. You would be less than happy about that. And so they made it perfectly silent so that there's no ticking or annoying sounds that are going to bother you in the middle of the night. So all I have to say is somebody put a lot of thought into this clock. Even though it looks really simple, it looks really basic, it is really well thought through. So even if you don't love the way the clock looks, that's fine, but I hope this helps you appreciate the clock and the design of it, and whoever put all that thought into it, even though that person is unknown and unnamed, and most people don't appreciate all the work that that person put in. I hope that you do, and I do. And so if you like stuff like that, where people put lots of thought into things, I try to put lots of thought into these videos. So if you would like to see more videos about clocks that I try to put lots of thought into, we'd love it if you would consider subscribing to our channel. That would help us a lot to put more thought into content like this. And speaking of which, we won't have much content coming out the next couple weeks. Sorry about that. My wife is the one who generally handles the YouTube content, and she's busy right now. So we've got a few things in the queue, but we've also got several things in process that we're very, very excited about. Some really neat videos coming up. So stay tuned, and if you are subscribed, you'll be able to see those as they come out. So thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.